the Nerdy Grail, and another year of movies has come and gone. 2025 has pretty much come to a close. Another year of cinema trips and movie reviews has come and gone, and so I thought it was time that I ranked every movie that I saw both in the cinema and outside of the cinema that was released in 2025 from worst to best in my personal opinion. Now, I did do this last year for every movie that I saw that was released in 2024, so if you'd like to check that video out, I will leave a link in the description down below for you to do so. In terms of this list, I'm going to be doing it a little bit differently to last year. I'm going to be doing it in a tier list format, but I will be numbering them from, the lowest numbered film all the way to number 1. I saw 27 movies in total, so obviously there's a lot of movies that won't appear on this list that you might expect to be on that list, and if that's the case, that's simply because I just didn't get around to seeing them in the cinema. But yeah, so these are going to be me ranking the 27 movies that I did see in the cinema. Most of these I did see in the cinema, and most of these I do have reviews up on the channel. So I'm not going to go into massive detail on a lot of them, but if there's any that I didn't do reviews on, I will talk a little bit longer about those particular films. And like I said, just keep in mind, this is just my personal opinion, so if you disagree with my list, then that is perfectly fine. But let's just make sure we keep all comments respectful. And I would love to hear your lists in the comment section down below. But yeah, 2025 has been a really interesting year of movies, and it's actually been quite hard for me to do this list. Last year was a lot easier for me, but I think it's been a little bit more of a mixed bag this year. I am looking forward to seeing what 2026 has to offer, but for now, let's jump straight into this list where I rank all the movies that I saw from 2025 from worst to best in my personal opinion. Okay then, so this is my tier list ranking all the movies that I saw in 2025. So we've got 4 different categories here. So we've got 1 to 8, so obviously these are like my top 8 movies. Then we got 9 to 16, 17 to 24, and 25 to 27. And all the movies that I've seen, all 27, are over here. I saw a mixture of movies from obviously MCU movies to DC movies to musicals to horror, all sorts of movies, and I have included movies that I've both seen in the cinema, and then there's a couple of movies that were released in 2025 that I saw then outside of the cinema through physical media release. I've even included like the Twisted Childhood universe movies, which I have done reviews on all of them on my channel, so if you'd like to check those out, please feel free to do so. But I'm going to be going in order from my least favourite film all the way to my favourite and placing them on this tier list. So without any further ado, let's jump straight into this. Starting with movie 27, so my least favourite movie of 2025. And it was like a no-brainer for me. If you've seen my review on it, you know I didn't like this movie. You knew I thought it was poor. And that is going to none other than Popeye's Revenge. Yeah, Popeye's Revenge was an absolute shambles in every way imaginable. There's probably a movie that you were expecting was going to come dead last. Don't worry, that movie's coming very shortly. But Popeye's Revenge just was bad through and through. It wasn't even so bad, it's funny. It was disgusting to watch. It was practically like a porno. Visually, it was hard to watch. The dialogue was terrible. The acting was terrible. It had a very abrupt ending. It was absolute, pardon my language, but it was absolutely piss poor, terrible movie. And it's such a shame because I'm fairly certain this was from the same studios that's been doing the Twisted Childhood universe, and their Twisted Childhood universe, despite them not being fantastic movies, have actually not been too bad. So it was very disappointing, so that's why for me, Popeye's Revenge dead last at 27. Moving then on to 26, this is the movie you were probably expecting to come dead last, and there is a particular reason as to why it's not dead last. But yes, I'm of course talking about War of the Worlds, featuring Ice Cube. This was on Amazon. I watched it via Amazon with my fiance. My fiance loves War of the Worlds, but oh my goodness, this was absolute garbage. But the reason why it's not dead last is because it had little hints of being so bad that it's funny. It was filmed during, lockdown and stuff, so you understand why it was all online. But just everything, the acting, the product placement galore was insulting. There was even a scene where a drone was damaged. They needed to get the drone working. There was a civilian, helpless civilian or a homeless guy, I can't quite remember which, who was nearby, and they lured him over by giving him like a £1,000 Amazon gift card. It was just unreal and unbelievable. It was just poor. in every way imaginable, but it had a slight element of comedy because it was so bad. The acting was terrible. Ice Cube, I like Ice Cube, don't get me wrong. In older films, one of the first films I saw him in was Are We There Yet? Loved him in that. But I've got to be honest, it just wasn't for him, this film. And this film is just pass up on it. Don't watch it. Don't even bother with it unless you want to do like a drinking game or something out of it. But yeah, War of the Worlds of Ice Cube comes in at 26. Coming in then at 25, we've got a Twisted Childhood universe movie. We have got Bambi the Reckoning. Yeah, I obviously did an unboxing and a review on Bambi the Reckoning. Yeah, it was a little bit of a letdown, especially coming off the back of Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, which I actually quite liked Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, and that movie is on this tier list as well. But this one just felt a little bit more lackluster. There wasn't enough depth to it, Bambi looked alright, but the acting and the dialogue didn't flow as nicely. Yeah, it felt a bit more cheap. It almost was teetering towards the Popeye's Revenge style. And obviously my thoughts on Popeye's Revenge, so I wasn't really a massive fan. And it's a shame, because like I said, the Twisted Childhood universe for me has been getting better and better, I think, personally. And it's a bit of a guilty pleasure series to watch. Hopefully the next movie, Pinocchio Unstrung, will do better than what Bambi did, but for now, Bambi is in at number 25. Coming in at 24, we've got another one of these movies where they take a childhood character, take an old IP that's now, free from copyright and in public domain, and making it into a horror movie. We have got Screamboat, which has David Howard Thornton, the person who does the Terrifier movies, who's Art the Clown in Terrifier. It's got the Art the Clown and the Terrifier style of horror and gore and stuff like that. The Disney references are quite cringy at times. I think it's quite humorous to a degree, and I think our main antagonist stroke protagonist guy, of the Mickey Mouse style character, was quite funny at times. The fact that he was the same size as an actual mouse, more or less. They didn't actually make him full size. I thought that led to the comedy a lot more. I thought that was pretty good. It was a very claustrophobic feel being on a boat, but just again, it was low budget, low production. The acting was okay at times, but mostly was a bit lackluster. And like I said, the constant references to the Disney stuff did get a bit grating at times. So it wasn't the worst of the worst, but it wasn't great either, to be honest. Moving on to 23, we have got Him. Now, unfortunately, I had really high hopes for Him. I love, all this style of horror. I love other works that, Jordan Peele has been a part of, whether he's written it, directed it, produced it, done all this. I loved Get Out. I loved Us. I loved Nope. Well, Nope wasn't as good, but Us and Get Out were phenomenal. And so I was looking forward to Him. It's got that sort of style. But the problem is, it just felt like it was trying to do too much and needed to sort of pick a lane. And it just didn't really mash together and work. And just the ending where our main protagonist goes on a massive killing spree and finally breaks just felt a bit too odd, if that makes sense. It just didn't land the same way as previous movies that, like I said, Jordan Peele has either written, produced, directed, or whatever. Didn't really land the same way. I just wasn't a huge fan of him, to be perfectly honest. So, yeah, it is such a shame. I had high hopes. This is more of a disappointment for me, but hey-ho, what can you do? Then we've got, in 22nd place, we've got then The Woman in the Yard. This is another movie that I was sort of slightly disappointed by. The trailers really drew me in. This mysterious woman in the yard who is haunting this family and is getting closer and closer. Very eerie, very creepy. The trailers, some of the dialogue that the creepy woman says, that today's the day, is absolutely terrifying. The ending was really, really good. There was an absolutely terrifying scene up in the attic, which really scared the shit out of me at the time, and I thought that was phenomenal. So the tension that's built up in this movie is quite good, but I think the payoff was a little bit lackluster for me, if I'm being perfectly honest, which is such a shame because, Blumhouse does some amazing stuff. It's just I don't think The Woman in the Yard quite clicked enough for me in particular. So, it's why it's lower on this list, to be honest. Then in 21st place, we've got another Twisted Childhood Universe movie. We have got Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare. This was the best film of the year in terms of taking the childhood IPs and characters and putting them into a horror movie. I think this one was done in the most entertaining way, surprisingly. It was just out of this world in terms of what was going on and whether Neverland was real, Neverland wasn't. Peter abducting the children. You got Tinkerbell being this basically drug dealer and stuff like that, and this old man, and it's really, really bizarre and weird. But it was really intense, really scary, and it had you gripped from start to finish. The twists that they had with Captain Hook and all as well, I thought that was really, really interesting. And I am actually looking forward to seeing Peter potentially return in the future in the Twisted Childhood universe, because he is quite a sinister character, and you really do feel scared by him. And I think that's the whole point. So I quite liked it, to be honest. Obviously, it's not a master of cinema. It's still part of the Twisted Childhood universe. Still got kind of a lowish production value, and obviously the acting and dialogue isn't crisp, There is, you can tell, but it's not anything horrendous. It's definitely not Popeye's Revenge style of bad. But yeah, it was okay. Then moving straight on, I bet you were expecting this to be a lot lower. It's still low. It was still terrible. We are finally coming to Disney's Snow White. So in 20th place, we have got the live-action remake, or whatever you want to call it, of Disney's Snow White. I've done reactions to the trailers. I've done a review on the movie. You know my thoughts on this movie. You know I think it's a pile of shit. In every way. The controversies that surrounded it really left a sour taste in my mouth from day one. From our main two actresses as well. Our person who's playing Snow White and playing the Evil Queen, both with different controversies, both with, it's just, yeah. And obviously everything that went on with the dwarves and the CGI and all sorts, and the rushed pacing. The only thing that saves Snow White is at times taking the dwarves aside, and I said this in my review, it does look beautiful at times, like the transformation of the Evil Queen into the old hag, evil witch style character. I thought that looked really cool. But yeah, it was just a mess. Poor, another shambles of a Disney live-action remake. And like I said, all the controversies and stories that came out before it really didn't give this, a way of... it made people feel a bit more pessimistic as opposed to optimistic. So yeah, unfortunately, Snow White, not very good. Moving on then, in 19th place, we have The Smurfs. Now, I always had a soft spot of Smurfs movies, and in particular, I'm talking about the ones from 2011, 2013 with Neil Patrick Harris. I quite like those with Hank Azaria as Gargamel, with Katy Perry as Smurfette. All those characters. They were my favourite Smurfs movies. I quite liked The Lost Village that came out in 2017. I thought that was alright, but I thought we were starting to drain the Smurfs a little bit there, here and there. I've done a whole Smurfs franchise video if you want to check that out on my channel. However, the Smurfs 2025, I think, is gonna get so outdated so quickly because it really tries to hone in on one particular audience, and obviously the current audience, the current generation of kids, and it's got references, and it just does, it's a meme-worthy movie. I think the cast, the fact they relied too much on the cast, like Rihanna as Smurfette and James Corden's character, I think really hurt this movie. The fact they constantly feel the need to give everyone a secret brother, like Gargamel has a secret brother and Papa Smurf has a secret long-lost brother. It doesn't benefit the story in any way. It reused old ideas, like going to the human world in the previous movies, to going to Paris, to... a Smurf having to prove and find out where they belong from Lost Village. It has no interesting ideas to work with. And it tries to lean into the multiverse just because everyone else is doing it, but does it in a bad way. There's Marvel references. The only thing I think is really good in this movie, and it happens towards the end where the final confrontation, they go between different universes, and you see like a video game universe and an anime universe. I thought that was beautifully done. Really, really nice. But yeah, it has a couple of funny gags here and there. But yeah, it's nothing groundbreaking. And I think just the Smurfs needs to either find a new direction or maybe just stop. Moving on from the Smurfs, we've then got a Minecraft movie. Yeah, a Minecraft movie. Now, I am not the target audience for a Minecraft movie. I'm not a massive Minecraft fan. I've only briefly played some of the games via like my younger brother or many, many years ago. So this wasn't for me. I sort of went there for the meme-worthy stuff, and just because I was like, Jason Momoa looks ridiculous, and Jack Black was cast as Steve. It was the trailer that made me think I need to go to this movie and I need to review it, and I have. I've reviewed it. I've unboxed vinyls and steelbooks. Is this movie a good movie? No, it's not really a good movie. Would it be a good movie for the kids? Yeah, the kids will have a fun time pointing out the references, and I think it's very creative in the world. Obviously, it's got songs now that have got catchy for the kids, and they're on the vinyl soundtrack I've done an unboxing of. But yeah, it's nothing groundbreaking. Again, very outdated, and yeah, just silly. It's just a bit... It's silly, but it's kind of got a quirky, fun charm to it, I suppose, to a degree. So it's nothing terrible, but yeah. It's a Minecraft movie. What are you going to expect from it? Moving on then, this is one I didn't actually see in the cinema. I saw it outside of the cinema, but it is one of the big franchises. And that is Jurassic World Rebirth, the latest Jurassic World movie or Jurassic Park franchise movie. Look, I think this franchise has really milked everything it's worth now. We've had too many movies. I think it needs to just sort of, vanish a little bit now, or have a bit of a longer break. There's too many movies now. It's just rinse and repeat of the ideas. Sure, we got a lot more dinosaur action than in Dominion, which was nice to see. But the thing is, our new core cast of characters, nothing against Scarlett Johansson, she's a fantastic actor and actress, but they just don't hold the movie like the original characters do. And we've had, how many movies we've had now? We've had 6 previous movies. This is like the 7th or 8th movie now. It's getting a bit old now, and they're revisiting old islands and stuff now. There's no new locations. It's just a bit rinse and repeat now. That's the only problem. And the dinosaur, the core evil dinosaur, looked like he was stripped straight from Alien. Straight from Alien. He looked like a weird xenomorph looking character. I just thought it was weird. But yeah, so I wasn't huge on it. It was okay, but I sort of lost interest halfway through. Had to find the interest to come back to finish watching it. And then a couple of days later, I had to go back and look over it because I'd already forgotten what I just watched. Yeah, that's sort of how the Jurassic Park World franchise has become now, in my opinion. Then we have got, in 16th place, we have got Megan 2.0. Now, I was a massive fan of Megan 1. I'm a massive fan of like Killer Doll stuff. I love Chucky and all that sort of thing. I think it's really, really good. And I thought Megan was cool. Especially the first Megan movie was terrific. And so I was really hyped on Megan 2.0. But when the first teaser dropped, I was like, okay, we've got a slightly new design for Megan. That's pretty interesting. And then the first proper trailer dropped and it looked like a complete tonal shift. I've done a review. Yeah, it's a complete tonal shift. It's not a horror movie. It is more like an action spy thriller. Think like Mission Impossible mixed with John Wick style with a dash of comedy thrown in there. It's not really a horror movie anymore. And you've sort of got Megan who's teaming up with the core heroes to take on a new villain as opposed to Megan being the main villain. I suppose it's nice for a change, but just it doesn't really fit. And it is very jarring going from the first Megan movie to this Megan movie, and you can really feel the jar in it. And so, yeah, I wasn't a massive fan. It wasn't terrible. I quite like Megan's new design to a degree. It still had the fun charm of the first movie, and there was a couple of scares here and there. But I just think, it wasn't anywhere near as strong as the first movie, if I'm honest. Nothing terrible, but nothing groundbreaking. Right, so now that we get to 15, now all the movies are they're either okay, or when we get to the top 10, I think they're good. So coming in 15th place, we have got Captain America, Brave New World. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, a Marvel movie's coming quite low on the list. And yeah, Captain America Brave New World is deserving of being this low, because firstly, it's boring. It is a boring movie, and Captain America's movies for me tend to not be. Like Winter Soldier and Civil War, I both absolutely adore. First Avengers not too bad either, but this one just felt boring. But mostly because this didn't feel like a Captain America movie. This one, and I think a lot of the internet agrees with me here, my fiance agrees with me, this was The Incredible Hulk 2 with Sam Wilson thrown in there because Hulk movies don't sell or whatever. I just don't understand. Because you've got Betty Ross, you've got Thaddeus Ross, you've got the leader, you've got obviously Red Hulk. You know, you've got everything apart from Bruce Banner. Throw Bruce Banner in here and take Sam Wilson out, and this is the Incredible Hulk 2. You know, and also the trailers spoil the whole plot of the movie, because the whole build-up of the movie, when you're watching it in the cinema, is, you know, what's going on with Ross? Why is he taking these pills? What's going on? What's happening to him? And you're supposed to be shocked that he becomes Red Hulk by the end, but you're not, because Red Hulk's on every poster. You even see Ross turn into Hulk in one of the trailers. So it's just like, what are you doing? It's just not that engaging of a movie either. And Sam just feels like a lost sheep in his own movie. And I think that is just such a shame. Such a shame. I was looking forward to a movie with Red Hulk, but this just isn't the movie. It's okay. It's not the worst Marvel film ever, but it's definitely not very high. Coming in 14th place, we have got The Conjuring, The Last Rites. Now, this was supposed to be like the big finale for the Warrens, you know, all their previous cases, you know, done and dusted. There's this one last case that's going to push them to the limit, you know, and they're going to throw everything at you here. And when the trailers came out for this, it really made it feel like it was a big Conjuring fest. You were going to see all the previous cases that they've solved and previous antagonists they've solved all come together in one fell swoop. That's not actually the case. Annabelle plays a massive part in this movie, and every time Annabelle was on the screen, I literally shat myself. She was terrifying, I'm not going to lie. You know, it had good pacing. It was quite tense. There was a good couple of jump scares here and there. Yeah, I thought it was okay. I'm not a massive fan of the Conjuring universe. I've not seen every Conjuring movie. I've seen most of them now, but there is a couple here and there I've not seen, but which I'm hoping to go back and watch a lot of them later on down the line. But yeah, it was a fairly decent horror movie. They tend to not bring horror movies out around Halloween anymore. I don't really know why, but I do like the Conjuring franchise, and to be fair, we usually tend to watch one of the Conjuring movies around Halloween anyway. But yeah, I'd recommend going to see Conjuring Last Rites, but go and watch some of the previous movies first. But yeah, not a bad movie, an okay movie, just nothing groundbreaking either. Coming in 13th place is the most recent film that I've seen in the cinema. Literally saw it only like a couple of days ago. I know I was a couple of weeks late to this one. And that is Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the sequel to Five Nights at Freddy's 1, based on the massive popular video game franchise. Look, I know a lot of people are probably saying, really? That high on the list? I actually quite enjoyed it. The main reason I enjoyed it is because, firstly, we got a lot more animatronic action, which I thought was great. We also had a really, really creepy extra villain in the marionette, who they gave it like a hybrid look of like human and animatronic. And whenever someone was possessed by that, it was absolutely terrifying, and I was gripped. We had an interesting cliffhanger, which if you haven't seen the movie, where the marionette then possesses Vanessa. So I think that's going to be really interesting going forward. I thought all the design to the animatronics, incorporating aspects of the second game with the mask, I thought was nice. You know, it was, and pacing was pretty good as well. It was a little bit slow to get going, but we had lots of good scenes with Springtrap and seeing how, you know, the backstory a lot with Vanessa I thought was really nice, delving deep into the characters. Yeah, I thought it was definitely a step up over the first movie. I did quite enjoy it. I've pre-ordered the 4K Steelbook and the Blu-ray to go into my collection, and I'm looking forward to rewatching it. I will rewatch this movie, so I might be in the minority, but I know there's a fair few people who do like this movie, and I quite enjoyed this movie. So yeah, for me, yeah, it deserves to be quite high on this list. Coming in 12th place, a lot of people will be shocked that it's this high, because it did sort of damage a lot of core characters, and I'll explain my reasons now. We have got the live-action Lilo and Stitch movie. Yeah, I love Lilo and Stitch. The original Lilo and Stitch, Stitch the movie, Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch as a Glitch, Leroy and Stitch, the TV series, the spin-off shows, the other shows like Stitch. I love them all, and Stitch is one of my favourite Disney characters. So a live-action Lilo and Stitch movie was right up my street, and I was so excited for it. You also had Chris Saunders come back to voice Stitch, which I thought was perfect. You've got Stitch back, and Stitch was brilliant in the movie. I thought the designs of all the characters were really good. Jumbo was good, Pleakley was good, the Grand Councilwoman was good, Stitch was perfect. You know, the music, the songs, the locations was lush and brilliant. I think the main thing that lets this movie down and why it's not making it into the top 10, and could be lower on a lot of people's list, is firstly what they do to Jumba. Because they didn't have Gantu, they made Jumba the main antagonist, and so Jumba gets no character development. He starts as a villain and ends as a villain, and that's not really what Jumba is, and that sort of destroys it. And then also the character of Nani, and how she treats Lilo, and her choices that she makes in this movie are very questionable and very wrong towards the character, and I know has pissed off a lot of people, myself included. If you want to know my full thoughts on that, check out my review of Lilo and Stitch. But yeah, some of those decisions that were made, really hurt characters, and that's why it doesn't make it into the top 10 for me. But I can't deny there's still a good charm to the Lilo and Stitch movie, which is why it's this high on the list. Coming in at number 11 was the first movie I saw this year. And yes, for anyone confused, like my American viewers or anyone else, this movie I know came out at the tail end of 2024 in a lot of countries, but it came out on January 1st, 2025 here in the UK, and was the exact day that I saw it. I saw it on New Year's Day, and that is Nosferatu. Yes, Nosferatu, which I really enjoyed. For my first film of the year of 2025, Nosferatu was a perfect film to start with. The cast of characters that we had was just absolutely phenomenal as well. I loved Willem Dafoe, Bill Skarsgård. They were all absolutely terrific, absolutely brilliant. I can't. The tension was there, the creepiness. I had goosebumps the entire movie. It kept me up at night. I just thought it was stunning, visual masterpiece. Dialogue was great. Nicholas Hoult was fantastic. There was just loads of stuff that I loved by it, and it was a very satisfying ending for me. Yeah, I recommend going to watch Nosferatu. I know there's other interpretations of Nosferatu, the original version, so I need to go back and watch some of those because I haven't seen any of those. But yeah, I really enjoyed Nosferatu. I have done a review on it, and I've unboxed steelbooks of it. So if you want to know my full thoughts, check out that video. But yeah, love Nosferatu. Right, breaking into the top 10. In my list now, we have got Weapons. Yeah, this was a movie that initially I sort of had to kind of drag my fiance to want to see. She kind of enjoyed the trailers and thought it was interesting, but this was more a movie for me. And I thought this was really interesting. And I didn't expect it to be a movie that was split into chapters based on the characters, getting to see different characters' perspectives, piecing the story together. I thought that was really, really cool. It was scary, it was eerie, it was tense. There was lots of really interesting twists and turns. The only negative for me is the end of the movie was slightly not satisfying and very dark. A very dark ending, basically saying that all the kids and stuff and adults that were turned into these weapons are now basically mindless zombies, and only some of them, after years and years of training, have just been able to start talking again. I thought, wow, that is sick and twisted. But yeah, especially when it was something so small that happens to them in an instant. Wow, what a movie. Funny though, with the kids going and the adults, running with their arms Naruto style behind their backs. But yeah, wow, Weapons. That was a really, really good movie. I have done a review on that, so if you'd like to check out my full thoughts, then check out that video. But yeah, really did enjoy Weapons. Moving on, this is more of a personal one for me. This was a movie that was definitely more for me than my fiance. In 9th place, I have got Wolfman. There's been different versions of Wolfman, but just I love the concept of, just got a short, you just got a couple of characters. You've literally got like 3 main characters in this movie. There's a couple of other characters here and there, but you've got a father, a mother, and a daughter who are going out. They're at this home in the woods, and the father gets attacked, and then slowly through the movie he starts transforming into a monster. But they really make you feel sorry for the family because they set it up perfectly, because you get to see the father as this really kind-hearted character who's going to become this evil, nasty monster that's trying to hurt his family. And I think that's what grips me and gets me. I think the transformation was a little bit quick. They should have prolonged it a little bit more. But it was really interesting the way they did it, and they switched between the perspectives, so you got to see what was happening to him. You got to see his vision change and what he could hear and how he couldn't understand his daughter and wife by the end. I thought it was done really, really well. But yeah, that was more of a personal one for me. I know awful lot of people loved Wolfman and would put it a lot lower, but that one is just more of a personal one for me. Coming in 8th place then, we've got another Marvel film. This is the Thunderbolts, or as it's technically titled now, because it was a placeholder title with an asterisk at the end, it's The New Avengers. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It was a lot of more of a darker tone, you know. I mean, yeah, sure, all the heroes that they picked for this movie have pretty similar powers. You know, Yelena, Red Guardian. Don't even get me started on Taskmaster. I'm still pissed that Taskmaster has been just assassinated again and had like 1 minute of screen time. You know, it's just, you know, you got like Bucky and all sorts. You know, there was a great, you know, John Walker, you know, US Agent. Ghost. It was nice to see Ghost come back from Ant-Man and the Wasp. So it was nice to give some characters that didn't get an awful lot of love in their series or movie, you know, a movie to shine. So that was quite nice. It does set up a lot of things for future MCU movies that could be plot holes in the future. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. And it was fairly funny. Pacing was pretty good. But yeah, just that thing with Taskmaster just gets me every time. I've done a review on Thunderbolts. If you want to see my full thoughts on it, then check that video out. Coming in 7th place, we've got the other MCU movie of the year and the current most recent MCU movie, that being Fantastic Four: First Steps. This is definitely the best interpretation of Fantastic Four we've had in a long, long time. Better than Fan Four Stick from 2015. I quite like the Silver Surfer movie, but obviously I know it's not the best, and the original Fantastic Four. You know, this is definitely the best Fantastic Four movie, I think, in my personal opinion. You know, gets the characters right in lots of ways, adds new depth to them. Galactus was done a lot better and really good. It was nice to see a new interpretation of the Silver Surfer. You know, the female version I thought was done really, really well. Visually, it was interesting as well. It was also set in a different universe, so even though it's part of the MCU, it was sort of taken out of the MCU. You know, good links. We got the tease of Doctor Doom at the end. All the characters were funny, were charming, were likeable, relatable. I really related to Mr. Fantastic in many, many ways. And I thought the casting choices for the characters as well was done pretty well. So yeah, it was an all-round fun movie, quite a bright and cheerful movie. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with Fantastic Four. And yeah, again, I've done a full review on Fantastic Four: First Steps. If you want to check out my video on that, then please feel free to do so. Okay, number 6, we have got The Naked Gun. This is definitely a personal one for me, and I know a lot of people wouldn't put The Naked Gun this high on their list of movies for 2025. I've only discovered The Naked Gun movies within the last like 6 months, 6 or 7 months. I hadn't watched any of them, but now I've watched all of them, and I love that style of humour, like the obvious comedy, you know, where there's obvious stuff going on in the background. They don't hide the comedy, they make it blatant in your face, and I think it is done fantastically and still keeps the charm of the originals, because that's always the worry when you do a movie years and years later from the originals, that obviously times have changed, humour's changed, and you can't always do the same things, but they managed to do it, and they managed to keep it true to form, and I thought it was hilarious. And Liam Neeson, you know, like obviously Liam Neeson does the same old films, and he's not my favourite actor, but I must admit, he stole the show for me, and I thought he was fantastic. Hilarious from start to finish. I haven't laughed that hard in a movie for a very long time. Loved The Naked Gun. Fantastic movie. I've also done a franchise discussion on The Naked Gun, where I do give a bit more detail in my thoughts of this movie. So if you want to check that out, then please feel free to do so. Right, top 5 now. You can see what 5 movies have made into the top 5, but which order do they come in? So, in 5th place, we have got Until Dawn. Yeah. Now, hear me out here. As a horror movie, Until Dawn is like top class. Absolutely terrifying. Really creepy, really tense, really good. I love like the Groundhog Day style of they got to try and survive. Every time they die, it resets, and they got a different way of dying each time. Each one more terrifying than the last. I love that, and all the kills are scary. They do relegate some of the more terrifying scares to a montage, which is really annoying, but they really know how to build tension and really know how to scare you. So as a horror movie, Until Dawn absolutely nails it. Top class would be like number 1 in horror movies. When you plaster the Until Dawn name on it and the IP and you're trying to do references to it, it falls quite flat. It is not a good adaptation of Until Dawn. It barely scratches the surface and barely resembles actual Until Dawn. You've got Peter Stormare, who plays a similar character to the games. That's this, that, and the other. And there's a couple of references here and there, but it's not Until Dawn. So it's terrible in that regard. But as a horror movie, and in terms of enjoyment I had watching it in the cinema, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I've watched it multiple times. So that's why it's in the top 5 for me on my list. Coming in at number 4, we have got Wicked for Good. So the second part of the Wicked musical that's been put into film form, starring Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. This was a bit more, obviously this was Act 2, leans a little bit more into the Wizard of Oz style. Ethan Slater becoming, who plays Boq, who becomes Tin Man, and obviously you've got Fiyero, who becomes Scarecrow, and you've got the Cowardly Lion and Dorothy and all sorts. I thought that was really good. Visually, it's beautiful. Jeff Goldblum as the wizard again is fantastic. The music soundtrack I thought was top class. I did enjoy it, and it is a good movie. It's not the best movie, but I thoroughly had a lot of fun with it. So yeah, I enjoyed Wicked for Good. Probably almost as much as the original, maybe even more. I haven't decided yet. I need to go back and rewatch the first Wicked film, but I've got the vinyl soundtrack. I've pre-ordered the steelbooks, both versions of the steelbooks. It's a great movie. I'm going to watch it again when it comes out physically. So for me, yeah, it deserves to be in the top 4. I had a blast watching it. Coming in, taking the bronze medal, we have got DC's only film of the year in Superman. This is James Gunn's first movie in charge. We've got Supergirl, which recently had a trailer, which came out like a week or 2 ago. And I thought it was an interesting take on Superman. I love Krypto. I absolutely adore Krypto. I thought, yeah, it was a pretty decent one. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor is top class. He is fantastic as your core villain antagonist. You can believe his hatred for Superman, and that is what's really good. I do think they throw in a few too many characters in this movie. Like I think like Hawk Girl and a Green Lantern. They throw a bit too much at you. You're Mr. Terrific. They do throw an awful lot. They've basically got a character who, let's be real, is going to become Bizarro. I think he's Ultraman, but he's going to be Bizarro, let's be real. They throw too much at you in terms of characters. They should have just focused on Superman, Krypto, just those, and Lex Luthor. But they're trying to build up a universe, and so they do that in that way. There was a couple of things that were a bit silly, a couple of the effects and CGI and whatever did look a bit too much at times. There was also like a really long interview scene between Lois Lane and Superman, which was apparently done in like one take or whatever, which was impressive, but a little bit dull after a little while. But I still thoroughly enjoyed it. It's the most fun I've had in a DC movie in a long time. And considering the movie before this for DC, I'm fairly certain it was Joker 2, which was an absolute travesty. It was a breath of fresh air to see, James Gunn's DC Studios Superman. So, well deserving of third place in my personal opinion. Now, we've got Ballerina and Zootropolis 2. Which one is going to be in first place and which one's going to be in second place? Well, in second place for me, my second favourite film of 2025 is from the world of John Wick, Ballerina. Now, my fiancé in particular, who hasn't seen this list yet, will probably say, yeah, that is your bias because you're a massive John Wick fan. Yes, it might be. It might be. I adore the John Wick franchise. I love every single one of them. And Keanu Reeves is a star. Absolutely amazing. And I'm glad that John Wick gets a lot of time to shine in this movie in particular. But that doesn't take anything away from your core protagonist in this movie as well, who isn't actually John Wick. And I think she does a fantastic job. Absolutely amazing. Really gripping, really keeps you engaged from start to finish. Even my fiancé actually quite liked it, and she doesn't like action movies, in particular the style that John Wick does. I've only shown her the first John Wick, and now this. We went to the cinema to watch this together, but she actually enjoyed it. So if you can get my fiancé into action movies, then you've done well as a movie. And yeah, it is stunning. Absolutely brilliant movie. I've seen it time and time again. I've probably watched it more than some of the normal John Wick movies, to be honest. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where this franchise goes from here. And if we can get some more spin-offs, that would be terrific. But I have done a full review on Ballerina, so if you want to see my full thoughts, then check out my review on Ballerina. And so, by process of elimination, my favourite movie, and I was shocked myself at the time, my favourite movie of 2025 is actually Zootopia, or Zootropolis here in the UK, 2. So, yeah, because we call it Zootropolis over here, but everyone else knows it as Zootopia. I loved Zootropolis 1. It was one of my favourite Disney movies for a very long time. It still is in my top 3 favourite Disney movies, Zootropolis 1. I think Judy Hopps, fantastic character. Nick Wilde, the fox, brilliant, fantastic. Introducing this new snake character to make it a nice trio. Done really, really well. It has the same charm. Visually, it's brilliant. The pacing was fantastic. The plot was interesting and engaging and had good personal conflicts for our main characters that were set up, given time to breathe and then resolved in the movie and was done superbly, if you ask me. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where the franchise goes from here. And yeah, I adore Zootropolis 2. I almost think I prefer Zootropolis 2 to Zootropolis 1. And that's saying something because I really, really enjoy Zootropolis 1. But that is going to be my list of ranking every movie that I saw in 2025 from worst to best, in my personal opinion. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please like it by giving it a thumbs up and comment down below your thoughts on what your list would be for 2025. But make sure we keep all comments respectful, if we could, please. And subscribe if you are new. But for now, this is Nerdy Girl signing off. I hope you've had an amazing day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now, everyone.